All right, so the recording has started, and if you do not want to be recorded, please exit the webinar now. By staying, you are consenting to be recorded. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. This week's webinar is on Roth IRAs. Last week's was on the high yield savings accounts, and I posted that video to my website and to my YouTube channel. So if you want to see that, you can see it there. And then next week, we're going to talk about employer plans and what to do if you're self-employed for a retirement, and what to do if you do have a job but your employer doesn't offer a plan for you. Like, what are some options that you have? So right now we're going to get into Roth IRAs. And the reason I chose this specific vehicle for to do a webinar on is because I love Roth IRAs for the flexibility that they offer and for the tax benefits that you get when you retire. And also because you can also open one up for your child or for a younger person in your life that you may be supporting in some way to help them get started on that. So it's really, I really love Roth IRAs. Started late because I don't believe it's ever too late. I just didn't start when my peers, many of my peers started, although there are a lot of people who are Gen X who have not um, started or feel like they're too behind because comparison is a thing. And I want to teach people ways of investing in themselves and in their retirement and their future, and also to pass that knowledge on to their children, because generational knowledge is generational wealth. I firmly believe that once you know and you're comfortable with money, that you are then going to pass that information on to the young people in your life. So let's get started. Okay, where are we here? Okay, let's come over here, get the little arrow. Stay until the end because I'm going to introduce a really special offer and a drawing after that offer for people who stay till the end. And then on the agenda, we are going to talk about what a Roth IRA is, the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA, how to find one, how to open one and fund it for the young person in your life, and then how to connect your account and investing. So we're going to go into like, okay, I have a Roth IRA. What the hell do I do with it now? All right. So in very simple terms, a Roth IRA is a retirement account that you fund with after-tax dollars. And what that means is that when your paycheck hits your checking account, those dollars have already been taxed, and that's the money that you will use to fund your IRA. All right, so a Roth IRA, like think of it like a house. Just like your house has family and furniture, fun, arguments, whatever. Um, it's the same way with a Roth. A Roth holds your investments. It's like a place to park your money, and then you do things inside the Roth, just like you do things inside a house. You cook, you clean, you watch TV, you sleep, you bathe, whatever. You also do things inside a Roth. So that's why I wanted to liken it to a house, because I want people to kind of get that idea around their heads that it's basically just a place where you're going to park your money, and then your money is going to be doing things for you. All right, so here are the differences between a traditional and a Roth IRA. The traditional IRA is also funded with after-tax dollars, and so when you do your taxes, you're going to get information from the brokerage that you're using, and they're going to say you you contributed, $5,000 to your traditional IRA, and then you are going to be able to put that onto your tax return to tell the IRS, hey, I used after-tax dollars to fund my IRA, so now you need to reduce the amount of money that I'm going to be owing. And then when you take that money out in retirement, then you're going to pay taxes on it because you got a credit for it when you contributed during your working years. There is no income limit, so whatever you make, you can invest in a traditional IRA. With the Roth, you are limited, and you'll see that on the next slide. There will be penalties and taxes if you withdraw early from your traditional IRA. There are no taxes or penalties if you withdraw the contributions that you made to your Roth IRA. Also, it's not taxed as income when you retire. So if you think that taxes are going to be more, or they're going to be higher when you retire, that won't matter with the Roth because you'll be able to withdraw that money. Even the earnings that you made, you'll be able to do that. There is a certain age at which you'll be able to do that. And right now, I believe it's 59 and a half. That may change in the future, but right now that's what it is. A traditional IRA, when you get that money in retirement, that money is listed on your tax return as income, and you're going to be taxed on it. Also, you will be required to withdraw money from that IRA, whether you need the money or not. You're going to have to withdraw from it. Right now, they have that age at 73. So once you turn 73, you're obligated to withdraw money from your traditional Roth IRA. They don't have that mandatory withdrawal thing with the Roth. You can also, if you decide, you know what, I'm doing fine. I don't need that money. I'm just going to let it grow and give it to your heirs, whoever you're going to leave it to. They would be able to receive that money tax-free. There are some rules about when they have to take the money out in retirement, but they receive the money. They don't have to pay taxes on it because it's already been taxed. So that's another cool thing about the Roth. All right, so then we go on to the pros and cons. I personally don't care about the cons. When I was doing research for the Roth, I wanted to make sure that I did list what, publications think about the cons or how they list them as cons, even though I personally don't feel like there's anything negative about the Roth, but I wanted to list what different places consider them to be a con. So pros. Some of these are repeated from the last slide. You pay taxes now instead of later. Your money grows tax-free. No required minimum distributions. Leave it to your heirs tax-free. Withdraw contributions at any time without penalties. So let's say you put in $5,000 in your Roth this year, and throughout the year it's making money for you, right? Let's say you invested in an index fund that pays dividends, and then those dividends are reinvested into your Roth. So you're going to have the $5,000 that you contributed out of your own money, and then you're going to have the money that you made off of that. You can withdraw the contributions only without tax, without penalty, without tax, without fees, without whatever. If you need it for like an emergency or you want to access that money. I don't recommend it, but it's there if you need it. If you withdraw that 5,000 plus any of the money that you made on that 5,000, that's when you're going to get taxed. You're going to get taxed, and you're going to have to declare that you withdrew the money that you earned, because it's money that you're earning that wasn't yours, and that has to be taxed. So the cons: it doesn't reduce your current tax bill. In my case, in my tax bracket and what I make a year, it doesn't make any difference. So I don't need it to reduce my tax bill. There are annual limits on contributions that are lower than your workplace retirement plan. Off the top of my head, I don't know what the limit is for contributing to a 401k, but it's like $23,000 for a single person for 2025. And the limit for a Roth is 7,000 if you're under age 50 or 8,000 if you're 50 and up. Then there are income limits. So if you make above a certain amount as a married filing jointly or as a single person, there are limits to how much you can put into your Roth. But if you really, really, really want to do it, there are things that you can do. You just have to follow the IRS guidelines to do that. So, but generally that's the deal with the IRS. They're like, you know what, you already make a lot of money, so find another way to another vehicle to invest and let the people who aren't making that much money invest. So, but like I said, there are ways to do it. You just have to check with your accountant, you know, the person who does your taxes or financial advisor to find out exactly how to do that. All right, so how do you find a Roth IRA? So a Roth IRA is super easy to find. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of brokerage firms in the United States that can hold the Roth for you. Personally, I use Fidelity, and I actually started out with Schwab, and then I transferred to Fidelity. And there are all kinds of places like Betterment, Wealthfront, I think E-Trade. There are there are a bunch of places. Um, but I would start out with going to the company that services your workplace retirement plan. So like if you have a 401k at X firm, then start there. Go to the financial advisor there and say, hey, you know, I want to open a Roth IRA. Um, what what are my options? And ask them what the fees are. You know, is it cheaper for me to do it here? Should I go to a discount brokerage? Is it going to be better for me somewhere else? You know, but they can at least guide you and at least help you with what to look for. You can also talk to family and friends who have IRAs, specifically Roth IRAs. And if it's somebody whose advice you trust, say, hey, you know, what brokerage firm do you use? Do you like them? What do you like about it? What are the fees like? That kind of thing. And then finally, online searches, you know, if you do a search for best Roth IRAs of 2025, you're going to, the first results are going to be probably NerdWallet, Investopedia, and Bankrate. And what they'll do is you can look and you can see their reviews, and they'll review like they'll give you the name, how much you need to open a Roth, if they have any specials going on, what their fees are like, and then they give the ratings. The caveat here is that NerdWallet, Investopedia, and Bankrate all rely on advertising money for all of these companies. So, for example, NerdWallet, Investopedia, and Bankrate will do a review on the Fidelity Roth. You know, why do they like it? You know, they usually give it like 5 stars. I think they all do. But why do they give it 5 stars? So look and at least get familiar with the kinds of things that they're looking at in their reviews to see if that's something that makes sense for what your goals are. You know, ultimately the decision is yours, you know, which brokerage you want to go with. But at least by reading the reviews, you can see what the benefits are, what the drawbacks are, according to these organizations, and at least it'll help you develop a sense of what's important to you. All right, so we are going to relax in retirement with a Roth. So contributions have to be from earned income, meaning that I can't just give you $1,000 and you can take that $1,000 and stick it in a Roth. It has to be for money that you got paid for at work. Okay. And like I said earlier, contribution limits do apply in 2025. It's 7K for people under age 50, and it's 8K for people 50 and up. And the reason they do that, they also do that with 401ks, by the way. So if you are over age 50, you can do what's called catch-up contributions. So that's what they do also with the Roth. The IRS allows any of us over 50 to have a $1,000 limit in addition to the 7,000 to help us catch up with our retirement, because they really, really, really want us to have money in retirement. Okay. contribute as long as you're working. So a lot of people may work or consult or freelance during retirement because they're like, you know what, I'm bored. Um, Gardening isn't really my thing, and I just want some extra money for an emergency fund, or because I want to help, my kids send my grandkids to college, whatever. If you work as a freelancer, consultant, part-time, at a restaurant as a bartender, whatever, any money that you have earned can go into your Roth. So, it's a way to also extend that and to just keep contributing if that's something that you want to do. And if you follow the IRS rules regarding Roth withdrawals in retirement, you will not pay taxes on that income. So let's say you're 40 years old and you want to open a Roth. So you just, diligently put in your $7,000 and then you hit 50 and then you max it out to whatever the contribution limit is going to be in 10 years, when you turn 50. You just keep pushing that money in there. And then let's say you're like, you know what? I'm 63, 64. I think it's time. I want to retire. Because you're past age 59 and a half, you can start making withdrawals on that money and you're not going to pay taxes on it. Yay! So that's really exciting because it's like one less thing to have to worry about, right? Is still being taxed for the money you make, because you will get taxed on your Social Security up to after a certain max that you get on Social Security. Um, so yeah, that's, a thing. They get us everywhere. Okay, so your kids or that special young person in your life. So, you can open up a Roth IRA. You just need their birth date, social, name, address, that kind of thing. Because an adult has to be named as the holder of the account for the child. Okay. The limits are the same, 7K for anyone under age 50. So if you've got, a godchild who is 13 years old and who you pay to mow your lawn every weekend, okay, that child can make a contribution to an IRA. Contributions can be withdrawn at any time without tax or penalty, as long as it's the contribution and not the money that has been made inside the Roth IRA. All right, so how would a kid fund this account? I mean, I don't know any 13 or 14-year-olds that have access to checking account. I mean, these days hardly anybody uses checks, but there are people who use them. And my kids had, let's see, I opened checking and savings accounts for them when they were 15 or 16, but none of them has ever written a check in their lives. With their Roths, I just connected they got them when they were of age, so we just connected their credit union accounts to their Roths. But in this case, let's say you've got a child who earns $100 the month of July, just doing odd jobs. They're saving for a gaming console, but they also want to have spending money because they want to go to the movies or they want to buy, whatever online on TikTok. Grandma or you has promised to match any contribution up to $100. So the kid is like, hey, mom and dad, or grandma or auntie or godmother has connected her account or their account to the Roth. So the child gives the money to the adult who's the custodian of the account, and that person transfers the money or buys a money order, or if somebody has a check, they can write a check and send it on to whoever's holding the money. And if grandma is like, hey, I'm going to match any contribution you make up to $100. The kid has put $25 in, so now grandma is going to send a check or is going to somehow get the money transferred, $25 transferred, so that the kid then has $50 in their account. And that helps the money grow. And it also encourages the child because the kid's like, oh, well, if I put $20 in, I'm going to get free, $20 from you. And then they start learning to do that so that when they go and they get their first 401k, they contribute enough up to the employer match at least. And then they start getting into this idea of free money, right? And it helps the money grow. Okay, you got to have your receipts. You got to have your receipts. You need to keep track. Somebody needs to keep track of how much money the child is putting in to this account. The limit is $7,000, and it's easy to lose track. So let's say the child gets paid in cash for mowing lawns, walking dogs, picking up dog excrement in the yard, or maybe they have like a summer internship and they get paid, $1,000 for the month. Um, so whatever the deal may be, especially with jobs that will not have a W-2, somebody needs to keep some kind of a notebook on the child's behalf, or the child, or with the child, and say, hey, Mr. So-and-so paid me on July 1st, $10 to mow his lawn, and he paid in cash. Okay, that's keeping track of all the money the kid is making, because you want to make sure that you have that information in case the IRS comes calling. They shouldn't, but if they do. And also, it's a way to keep track to make sure that you don't go over the $7,000. Now, let's say the child, throughout an entire calendar year, they're 16, 17, 18, they're working fast food, or they're working, doing whatever. And let's say they make $10,000. Okay. Well, the limit is still $7,000 for anybody under age 50 for contributions to the Roth IRA. So just keep that in mind. It's really important to do that, because then you get in trouble with the IRS and they want you to pay taxes, and then, it just becomes a mess. So regardless, that's going to be the limit. And a good way to keep track of that also is to download the brokerage firm's app, so that not only can the child watch the money grow, but it's also, you can still filter by how much has been contributed, aside from how much the money is made, because that's another way to, then add up in like an Excel spreadsheet. Oh, $10 here, $25 there, $40 here, $100 there, for contributions, to help keep track of that as well. All right. So remember the house? Okay. This is your floor plan. Okay. Inside of a house has a bunch of different rooms, and each room has a purpose. And your investments are going to go into your house. Okay. You're going to have stocks, or, well, I don't know that you're going to have stocks, but some common investments are stocks, bonds, and index funds. And then you also have crypto and metals. These are some of the different kinds of investments that people are looking at these days. And so between you and the child, decide, is the child going to say, hey, I really love my Xbox, so I want to invest in Microsoft. Okay. Or maybe they decide, and they just want to get like one stock in Microsoft, so they can say, hey, I own Microsoft. You can also do that with an index fund or an ETF, by the way. So yeah, so these are your common investments. And then what you need to do is decide how much is going to go where and how often. So what are you going to put where? How much are you going to put? How often and for how long? So are you going to put individual stocks in your Roth and maybe index funds in your brokerage account? Or are you going to put all index funds into your Roth? I don't know. That's not for me to decide, and also not for me to advise you. How much? How often? Bi-weekly, monthly, yearly? I have a friend who's also a money coach, and they they get their $7,000 and in like January or February, they just throw the whole thing in their Roth, and they do that so they don't have to think about it the rest of the year. They don't have to have the monthly withdrawals um, to see where they're going to put the money. I personally have money taken out of my account at every 2 weeks when I get paid, and that goes into my Roth. There are pros and cons to doing it either way, but that's something that you need to decide to do and for how long. I mean, in a Roth, the limit is $7,000. So are you going to try to max it out? Are you going to, or are you just going to make up in your head your own limit? Maybe you just want to do 4,000, or maybe the first year you want to do 1,000. Whatever you want to decide, whatever you do, that's, that's something that you need to decide on. And like the Beatles say, what do you do? How do you decide? Ask for help. Okay. If you're not so self-assured, you may need somebody. Okay. Now what? Okay. Here's a sample of some questions to ask yourself, and I hope that whatever person you ask for help from also asks you these questions in addition to asking you, how much money do you have in savings? What other accounts do you have? What is your plan for retirement? What is your goal with this? What are you doing? So some questions would be, what's my goal? How long do I want to leave the money in these accounts? How much am I going to invest? How can I make the most of my investments? What are the fees? Do I want to be a passive investor, an active investor? What's the difference? What's it going to cost me? And the people best suited to guide you and to help you answer these questions are fee-only registered financial advisors or certified financial planners, because the financial advisors have securities licenses, and you can check them out at finra.org. And then a certified financial planner, I believe you can also look them up at finra.org. And you want to look these people up. You want to do your due diligence to make sure that these people don't have any kinds of haven't had to pay fines, or they haven't been you know gotten in trouble for insider trading or whatever. You want to make sure you want to make sure their licenses or their ability to do their job the way they say they do their job is legit and legal. That's why I can't give you money advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't have a securities license. And any money coach who says that they can do that is wrong, unless you can look them up and you can find them and find out that they are registered and they are indeed allowed to do that. All right, so here are some tips. When you set up your Roth account, make sure that when you contribute the money, it's not just sitting in the account, but that it's actually being invested. So when when I moved my Roth over, I was just like throwing money in yeah, I'm throwing money in my Roth. And I was watching it grow, and I was like, oh my God, but wait a minute. So after 2 months, I didn't realize that the money I was depositing was going into what Fidelity calls a core account. It's like a checking account. And the interest you make on that account is higher than like your typical checking account. But my money wasn't being invested in anything. It's just like in a stable, super like low interest earning checking account is what it was basically. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't buy anything. So yeah, you got to make sure that you're doing that. I'm always telling people to make sure that it's being invested in something, like that you're actually going and buying an index fund, or you're actually buying bonds, or you're actually buying something, because you want your money to work for you. You don't want it to just be sitting around, scratching its butt. All right. Don't review too many brokerage firms. When you go to the NerdWallet, Investopedia, Bankrate, they're going to have like a long ass list um, of brokerage firms. Okay, it's they may review like 8, 9, 10 different firms, and there may be some crossover. There usually is some crossover, but the more you dig and dig and dig, the more you're going to be susceptible to overwhelm. And you're going to end up not being able to make a decision, because you're going to be like, oh my God, I really like this thing about Fidelity, but I like this thing at better, Betterment, but I really like this thing at Wealthfront. Pick three that off the top look really good, and then go to those individual websites and read the fine print, or have someone guide you, like a financial advisor or a certified financial planner, if you really feel like you need that. But if you start looking at 20, 30 different brokerage firms, you'll never make a decision, and it'll just be another excuse to not open a Roth, and you're just going to be wasting time, and your money is just not going to be growing for you. And the whole point of this is for your money to grow. Set up recurring transfers from your funding account, or check with your employer and the brokerage to see if you can do a direct deposit directly into the account. And then some brokerages will allow you to open the account with $0. So when I opened my Fidelity and my Charles Schwab, it was with $0. Well, no, wait. I opened my Charles Schwab with $0. My kids opened their Roths with $0. And then within like a week or so, we connected their funding accounts, and the rest is history. But don't wait to fund it. Connect the funding account right away, and then approve it, and then set up your recurring transfers. All right, so here's your recap. Roth IRAs are funded with after-tax dollars from employment. So you have to be working, has to be money from work. Here are your limits: $7K for age 49 and under, $8K for age 50 and up. Withdraw the money tax-free in retirement. You can open a Roth IRA for your minor children or another child in your life. You can withdraw contributions only without tax or penalties, and some brokerages, again, will allow you to open the account with $0. So that's a really important thing, because a lot of people feel like they have to have hundreds or even thousands of dollars to open up one of these accounts, and you don't. And I'm going to tell you a story. So when my eldest child, who is now 25, when I opened their Roth for them, I think it was at age 8, no, it was like at age 20, 21. They were working full time, going to school full time, and just didn't have a lot of extra cash left over after putting money in savings. And I said, look, start with $10 a month. Just start with $10 a month. Not even a paycheck, $10 a month. And at first they were like, $10. And I said, you're not even going to notice that it's gone. And so they started. And then little by little, they increased the amount by making contributions like in chunks, like $200 here, $300 there. And now they are working full time, going to school full time for their masters, and they have set up their account. And I think this year will be the first year that they, or maybe the second year, that they are going to max out their Roth. And my hope is that they're able to do that from here on out. But yeah, start slow and work your way up. This isn't something, it's not a rat race, it's not a race, and it's not a hamster wheel. It's start slow. Open it up with $1 or with $0 or $1, and go from there. But yeah, start off slow. If you can only do $10 a month, do $10 a month. Then, 3 months down the line, double it. Match it for yourself. Do $20. And then a few months after that, double it. Make it $40. And then once you've paid off some debt, triple it, just little by little, because the important thing is to get into the habit. The habit of it is more important than how much. Okay. So once you've established the habit, you get it and you see it grow, you see the money you're making, it's going to encourage you and it's going to motivate you to continue to contribute to your retirement and to your future, which is something that you really, really deserve. Okay. All right, so now we go on to the special offer. And this is an offer that I made it last week. I'm making it again this week. I want people to start talking about a new way with money. And, you know, a lot of times we feel like shit when we miss a payment on something and then we have to pay fees because we're late. This happened to me all the time. I had undiagnosed ADHD until last year. I was diagnosed, and the diagnosis explained a lot about my shame and my bad feelings around money. And I was judged a lot for my choices, for my behaviors, and I didn't know how to fix that. So maybe you're in that same place. Maybe you're living paycheck to paycheck because you can't seem to get ahead and it seems like everybody else is getting ahead. And just like everybody else, you want things to change. So you go online and all you find is basic ass information brought to you by basic ass people. Maybe it's an article that you read in Kiplinger's or Ford or Bankrate. Maybe you heard a podcast and it's just general information, meaning that it's information for everybody, but for nobody because they don't know anything about you. They don't know your culture, your history, your relationship with your parents, your childhood, your history with money, nothing about your identity. And then they turn around and they're like, but it's your fault that you are in this position. Um, you know, if you didn't buy coffee every week, then, you'd have the money to buy a house or have an emergency fund and you wouldn't be using your credit card. But that kind of talk drives me absolutely insane. It drives me crazy because I know what it's like to be in this position. And that is why I do what I do. And that is why I'm so passionate because I don't like it when people feel bad. I want everybody to feel good and to have a healthy relationship with money, with themselves, with their brains and their hearts. And that's why I tell people who say, oh my God, I suck at money. It's like, no, you don't. You don't. You did the best you could with what was available to you. And, oh, and that's not something that I take lightly. You've done your best. You're not lazy. You're not stupid. Um, a lot of people who are neurodivergent get that. Oh my God, why are you so lazy? Why can't you just do it like this? Because it's not being done in the way that your brain needs to work, right? Um, you know more than you think and you have skills and you have the capacity to change behaviors. It's like I was telling my youngest son, when he was going to get his first job, if somebody explains something to you when you're training and you don't understand it, it's not your fault that you're not understanding. And so what you need to do is you need to tell the person, I didn't understand that. Can you please tell me in a different way? And if they get mad, that's on them. And it is their fault that you're not learning because they're not willing to accommodate you and your way of learning and your way of understanding. And that's what I tell people when it comes to money. So, money coaching at its core is helping people learn concepts, learn how to budget, learn how to open a Roth IRA, and get good with money in a way that is sustainable. Because, coaching we're just here for a limited time. And it's my job to teach you to take the lessons and to keep those lessons and use them the rest of your life. Now, I have a friend who, another money coach, who has a recurring client. The coaching program is 6 months, and this person has signed up, I think, 3 or 4 times because they want that continuous accountability and education and support. Because it's not counseling, because it's not therapy. I'm not a therapist, but it's coaching. It's just like, hey, let me show you what you can do. Let me show you how you can do it better. Let's work together. You can do this, right? It helps you also to do practical things like set boundaries without guilt. Provide accountability. We do those check-ins like, hey, did you open that high yield savings account? Oh, you didn't? You want some help? Okay, let's set up some time to do that. Did you talk to your parents? Did you talk to your place of work? Did you ask for that raise? Things like that help you, encourage you in your desires and in your dreams and in your goals, so that with the tools, because we can't just throw you out there and be like, just do it, which is what a lot of people on social media and in the media, general media, tell people do. You just have to do it. And it's like, well, you know what? Sometimes you need some help. You need someone to hold your hand. We learn from past mistakes, and we learn to give ourselves grace. And that was hard for me. I'm not perfect. I still make mistakes. I still forget things, but I've learned to give myself grace. We look into talents and skills that you can use to your benefit. Okay. Because your brain works differently from my brain. And it's my job to teach you that you are just as worthy. Just because I happen to know more about Roth IRAs than, you know, my neighbor, doesn't mean that my neighbor isn't worthy. Okay. And then there's finally accepting that you have a right to abundance. You have a right to money. Not caring about money is not noble. It's an important thing for you and for your future. So what's in it for you? I'm glad you asked. You get private one-on-one coaching, unlimited email and text Monday through Friday while you're in the program. The first person to sign up gets a free book. It's Get Good with Money by the Budgetnista herself, Tiffany Aliche. Free access to upcoming workshops for 1 year. Free worksheets and trackers. It's a bundle. Free retirement guide. And free access to the upcoming Slack group that I'm going to start up for people to have an opportunity to ask questions, get support, and be like, hey, I'm trying to do this thing. Has anybody ever had experience doing that? Can you have any tips? I want people to be able to do that. And so the cost today is, for all of that, $1,999, or 2 payments of $999. But you have to sign up today. The value is over $4,000, and you'll be saving just over 50%, or just under 50%. Sorry, just under 50% is what you're going to pay. So I hope that this has been helpful for you, and that you get an idea of what I'm like and what I can help you with. And, I want to know, is anybody, send me a message. Send me a message and let me know what you think about this. And if you want me to send you the link to sign up, this link is good for 24 hours from today. And, yeah, like I said, it's a really good investment for you, because it's something that you deserve. You deserve to have somebody who can support you and cheer you on, and then, hopefully it'll be something that has changed you for life. Oh, and it's 12 weeks. It's a 12-week coaching program. And now for the drawing. So send me a private message in the chat with your email address. So just when you go into the chat, just at me. And then I'm going to put everybody's email addresses in like a bag, and I'm going to have one of my kids shake it, and then we'll pull out the name. If you've won, I will send you an email from that email address that you're sending me in the chat. And this week's drawing is for a bill tracker. I got a bill tracker. It'll help you keep track of bills that you have paid with the date, the due date and all that, to just kind of help you organize all that with pockets. It's really cute. It's got a pretty leafy green color. And yeah, so I will, once I find the person, or we draw the name, I'll send you an email, and then I'll need you to respond with your mailing address so that I can send it to you. And if you don't respond within 24 hours, I'll have to go to the next person. All right? And with that, I say gracias. And with that, a reminder that the information here is, oh my gosh, I can't even see that. Any information contained herein is for informational purposes only and may not be construed as professional financial advice. To get advice on your particular situation, consult a CPA, registered financial advisor, or a certified financial planner. And with that, I thank you, and I wish you good health and good wealth. All right, so I'm going to end the recording. We're going to stop. All right, so we are